Good evening, friends and viewers. Hans Christian Andersen, a famous Danish writer who is well known for his fairy tales. So, today I had chosen one of the best fairy tale by Hans Christian Andersen, The Little Mermaid. So, this is a fairy tale. And this Little Mermaid is written in 1837, is one of the most layered and fascinating fairy tales written by Hans Christian Andersen. So let me tell you about this fairy tale, The Little Mermaid. Deep down, the story of this starts like this. Deep down at the bottom of the sea live the mermen and mermaids. 6 sisters live there, all of them princesses, the youngest of whom is quieter and more thoughtful than her older siblings. Each of the mermaid has their own little garden under the sea, but whereas the other decorates theirs with all sorts of things they have salvaged from shipwreck that have drifted to the bottom of the sea, the Little Mermaid has just some roses and a statue of a beautiful boy. They are all intrigued by the world behind the sea. With this youngest sister, the Little Mermaid of the story tale is more interested in the world above the sea than her other sister. The sisters are looked after by their grandmother, who tells them that when a mermaid reaches the age of 15, she can rise to the surface of the water and explore the world above the surface. In turn, each of the sisters reaches that age and goes up to the surface, returning below the sea to tell her sister what she has seen. When it's finally the turn of Little Mermaid, she notices a ship which contains royalty. The people on board are celebrating the birthday of a handsome prince. The Little Mermaid is instantly attracted to him. There is a storm and the ship sinks. The Little Mermaid is initially delighted when she sees the prince sinking beneath the water, as it means he can join her. But when she remembers that humans cannot survive underwater, so she rescues him and takes him to shore at a temple where some novice girls appear, and one of them restores the prince to consciousness. The mermaid sinks back under the water, which the prince, entirely unaware of her existence or that she has saved his life. That Little Mermaid asks her grandmother about humans. She learns that humans don't live as long as mermen, who can live for up to 300 years. But they do have immortal souls, which float up to heaven when they die. Unlike the mermen, who don't have souls, the Little Mermaid says she would trade 300 years of life as a mermaid for one day as a human. And if it means she would have a soul and live forever. The grandmother tells her not to think about such things, because the only way a mermaid could gain a soul is if a human loved her so much that his soul would merge with her and she would gain one. But the Little Mermaid realizes that she so loves the handsome prince and that she could give anything to be with him and gain an immortal soul. So she goes to visit the one woman who might help her, the sea witch. The sea witch says she will make the Little Mermaid a potion which the mermaid must take onto land with her and drink. It will turn her fish tail into 2 human legs, and she will not be able to transform back into a mermaid again. It will also hurt her every time she walks. If the handsome prince will not marry her, she will not gain an immortal soul, and she will die and become foam upon the water, as is the fate of soulless mermen. The day the prince marries another, the little mermaid is so desperate to marry the prince and gain a soul that she readily agrees. Despite this gamble, she also agrees to see which demands for a payment, which is to possess the mermaid's beautiful singing voice. This means the little mermaid will be able to become a woman, but a mute one, unable to sing or speak. She floats up to the surface and drinks the potion and falls unconscious. When she wakes, the handsome prince is standing over her, asking her where she came from. But because the sea witch has taken her tongue, she cannot answer. He takes her into the palace and finds her the finest clothes to wear, and her beauty is much admired by everyone at court. She grows closer to the prince, but at night she often sees her sister, who float up to the surface and tell her how she saddened them when she left them behind. The little mermaid learns that the prince is fond of her, but has fallen in love with the pretty girl at the temple who brought him back to consciousness on the night of shipwreck. Unaware that the little mermaid was the one who dragged him to the shore, he thinks that the novice girl at the temple saved his life. Being mute, the mermaid cannot tell him that she was the one who saved him. The prince is told to undertake a voyage to neighboring kingdom because his parents wish him to marry the princess in that kingdom to forge an alliance. The little mermaid undertakes the journey with him, and when the princes appear, it turns out to be the very girl who had found the unconscious prince on the temple step the night the little mermaid had saved his soul. Believing the prince to be the one who had saved him, the prince declares his love for her, and they travel home to his kingdom to be married. The little mermaid realizes that, having failed to gain a human's love, she will die the next morning without having gained a soul. Heartbroken, the little mermaid is traveling back on the prince's ship when her sister appear above the water, their hair cut off. They know their sister's fate and tell her that they have sacrificed their hair to sea witch in exchange for a magical dagger, which they hand to their sister. The little mermaid must plunge it into the heart of the prince so that his blood will touch the little mermaid's feet and merge them together to form a fish tail. Then she can dive back under the water and be with her sisters and grandmother, who is her wit's end. But when the mermaid sees the prince and his bride sleeping together in his tent on the ship, she cannot go through with it and hurls the dagger into the sea. Before diving up overboard and dispersing into a foam on the surface of the water, her spirits float up into the air, and she is informed by other mermaid spirits or daughters of the air that while they cannot gain a soul, they have a chance to do so if they provide a useful service to the world by bringing cooling breeze to the hot winds in warmer parts of the globe. At the end of the centuries of service, they can create their own everlasting soul, and they can shorten the period of time it takes back to earn one. Each house they travel into on the breeze, if they find a good child who is a credit to its parent, 1 year is taken off their 300. But if they travel into a house where a bad child is bringing shame to its parent, a year is added into their time in this limbo. And this is how the story of Little Mermaid ends. The Little Mermaid is the rare and paradoxical thing, a tragic tale with a happy ending. Although the mermaid fails in her quest to gain the prince's hand in marriage and thus a human soul, she does learn when she dies and there is a life after being a mermaid, and that her kind action in her saving the prince's life, then letting him live even though it will mean her own death, carries some long-term reward. This is one of the aspects of Little Mermaid, which make it such a rewarding tale. So instead, the rather bittersweet ending is more mature and realistic. We cannot make people love us if they do not, and we have to live with the fact that best we can do is to act well towards them and to the world at large. Although more, so this is what happened with the Little Mermaid, and she did not meet it, and indeed, the Little Mermaid, tears of happiness when she learned she has become a daughter of air, confirm what we have suspected along, that what she really wants is a soul, and sees the prince as her chance to gain one. It's true that she loves him before this, and she saves his life before she knows he can be of practical value. So, taking all this into account, what does the story of the Little Mermaid actually mean? Should we analyze the Little Mermaid as a tale about love, or about immortality, or about selflessness, or about religion, or a spiritual or supernatural means? Or should we offer a feminist interpretation of tale which sees the price that young women pay for marriage and motherhood, and the intense pain to her lower body? So this is the story of the Little Mermaid by Hans Christian Andersen. A very beautiful tale, full of lesson, of love, of sacrifice, and of not meeting what one desired for. Thank you very much.